right, thanks for that, Danny. Well, it's being called Jamaica's storm of the century. Hurricane Melissa tore across the island with winds over 200 miles an hour. The destruction is widespread, and the storm's now battering Cuba. Dangerous flooding filled streets in southeastern Cuba this morning as Hurricane Melissa moved north. In Jamaica, the devastation is only now becoming clear. Homes flattened, cars underwater, and entire towns without power. Officials say rescue efforts were halted in several areas because of unsafe conditions. The Prime Minister has declared the island a disaster zone.
There's scarcely any building or infrastructure that would escape without some form of damage.
People are now in shelters as Jamaica looks to the international community for help recovering from the storm. And the government shutdown is nearing a record after another failed Senate vote on Tuesday. Now at day 29, a legal fight is brewing over whether the Trump administration can tap funds to release SNAP food benefits. From Washington, D.C. to Florida, food lines stretch as the shutdown drags on. Families struggle to make ends meet while federal workers go without pay. The president of the Air Traffic Controllers Union says his members missed a full paycheck while staying on the job. Meanwhile, more than 24 states are suing the Trump administration to release emergency SNAP funds. Congress remains deadlocked, with Democrats pushing for extensions to health care subsidies and Republicans holding firm on funding.
Money is there. The hungry people, the hungry children, the hungry veterans, the hungry elderly could be fed. But Trump's using them as hostages.
As Americans remain caught in the middle, Congress struggles to break this stalemate. A federal judge has barred the Trump administration from firing government employees during the shutdown as a lawsuit moves through the courts. Well, health insurance costs keep climbing, and many Arkansans are wondering why. Arkansas Blue Cross Blue Shield CEO says a mix of rising medical costs, workforce challenges, and deferred care are driving the increases. Nationwide, 28% of Americans delay care due to costs. In Arkansas, 125 small employers dropped coverage last year. Healthcare spending is projected to jump from $5 to $8 trillion over the next decade. Rising pharmaceutical costs and high-cost claims among younger adults are adding to the strain.
That is, the health status of our youth in particular is not where we need it to be. And so when you think about young people in their 20s even becoming diagnosed with diabetes, with chronic health conditions, those are taking a toll on them.
Blue Cross says that they are focusing on technology and value-based approaches to help manage costs while keeping Arkansans healthy. Renewal rates for next year are projected to rise around 8 to 9% for small and large groups. A new report finds Arkansas is ranked 5th highest in the nation for children in poverty. The Annie Casey Foundation says 20% of kids in Arkansas are below the standard. Oklahoma was ranked 8th with 19% of children. The report says programs designed to help children access food and shelter, like SNAP benefits, are extremely helpful in lowering poverty rates. Fayetteville Mayor Molly Ron is joining a national push to end childhood hunger. She's part of the Mayor's Alliance, a coalition of more than 500 mayors working with the No Kid Hungry campaign. To kick off the initiative locally, the city is launching a non-perishable food drive, collecting items like canned goods, cereal, and peanut butter. Donations can be dropped off at City Hall, police headquarters, and all fire stations. With food insecurity affecting nearly 1 in 5 Arkansas households, the community's help is crucial. Every donation, she says, helps support local families in need. Well, a Springdale man will spend 60 years in prison after a jury convicted him on 2 rape charges. On top of that, he was convicted on 8 counts of second-degree sexual assault. Court testimony revealed 41-year-old Henry De Jesus Hernandez Parada raped a 5-year-old girl who his girlfriend was babysitting. An investigation by Springdale police uncovered that he had raped and sexually assaulted 4 other victims for nearly a decade, dating back to 2014. He must serve 42 years of his sentence before he's eligible for consideration for parole. And Springdale City Council voted last night to raise the cost of ambulance services by 200%. This is the first rate increase in 11 years. While that percentage may seem scary, Fire Chief Blake Holt says most costs are covered by insurance or Medicare. They say rising operating costs have outpaced what the city can recover under state law. A new law taking effect next summer will let cities recover more from insurance companies. And the new vote brings Springdale in line with that change.
The service goes beyond the transporting. It's having 24/7 staffing, having quality ambulances that are dependable and reliable, having durable medical equipment that's safe for our providers and for our patients. And those things cost money. We have two choices as a government entity, and that is to increase fees for service or ask to increase taxes.
Chief Hull added that this raise means peace of mind for the community, ensuring reliable service and competitive pay. Well, in other news this morning, Fort Smith directors are mulling a new system of checks and balances after a budget shortfall involving water slides at Parrot Island. During the board meeting on October 21st, city leaders discussed the $2.5 million budget shortfall. This happened at Tuesday's meeting. Board members raised concerns of the speed in which they voted on the project, despite no previous reporting on the specifics. The discussion has since been tabled until November's meeting. The Alice L. Walton School of Medicine is officially open in Bentonville, which is a major milestone for medical education and healthcare right here in Northwest Arkansas. 5 News reporter Jacob Luthi was there today for the ribbon cutting ceremony and joins us live from the new campus. Good afternoon, Jacob.
Yeah, good morning or good afternoon, Tiffany. Look, I don't want to be back in school, but I'd much rather be in there right now than out here. It is cold today, but I will say there were about a couple hundred people, founders of the building, architects of the building, med students, and even Alice Walton herself all showed up today for that ribbon cutting ceremony, marking the grand opening of this massive building right here behind me. Now, this new campus will be the home for the future medical professionals, both here in Arkansas and also from around the nation too. School leaders say they aim to improve health and well-being in the region by educating future physicians in whole health principles. The state-of-the-art facility is located on the Crystal Bridges campus, and it welcomed its first class of 48 medical students earlier this year. That was in the summer. Architects of the building say materials used inside and outside the building are there to mimic the surrounding Ozark nature while providing students a calm learning environment. Alice Walton says this morning's grand opening ceremony marks a transformative step for healthcare right here in the state of Arkansas.
When we founded this school, it was based on a vision for a new kind of med school, one that would transform the next generation of physicians based on what communities need now, not just disease care, but whole person care.
Now, while the grand ceremony was held today, a spokesperson for the medical school says that it will not be open until for the public until November 3rd. But for now, we're live in Bentonville, covering news where you live. Jacob Luthi.
All right, thanks for that, Jacob. Well, new checks and balances could be coming into play in light of a budget shortfall that the Fort Smith Board of Directors is dealing with. 5 News first told you last week that the city's $2.5 million short expansion on the project for Parrot Island Water Park, and those board members, they raised concerns over how quickly the board got to voting on that $2.1 million regarding the project with no discussion. The board member, Christina Katsavis, suggested that the board have study sessions when a project not part of capital investment projects is brought forward. Board members tabled the discussion until November's meeting. Well, President Trump is in South Korea preparing for critical talks with China's president ahead of the meeting. President Trump expressed optimism that a trade deal can be reached. The president also announced a trade deal with South Korea will be finalized shortly. Natalie Brand has the latest on his trip from the White House.
South Korea rolled out the red carpet for President Trump, the country's president even honoring Trump with a golden crown and medal.
I'd like to wear it right now.
Cheers. President Trump attended a state dinner and spoke to CEOs at the Asia-Pacific Economic Cooperation Summit.
On this trip alone, I've signed groundbreaking agreements with Malaysia, Cambodia, Japan. Our deal with the Republic of Korea will be finalized very soon.
Ahead of his visit to South Korea, North Korea fired test missiles into its western waters. South Korea's president asked President Trump to use his peacemaking skills on the Korean peninsula.
We'll work very hard with Kim Jong-un and with everybody on getting things straightened out, because that makes sense.
President Trump's biggest meeting is still to come with Chinese President Xi. Before returning to the U.S., the leaders of the world's two largest economies will try to finalize a trade deal and ease tariff tensions.
I think we're going to have a deal. I think it'll be a good deal for both. And that's really a great result. You know, that's better than fighting and going through all sorts of problems and, you know, no reason for it. I think it's going to be a great deal for both.
Trump and Xi are expected to cover a lot of ground, including the sale of TikTok, soybeans, rare earth minerals, and countering fentanyl. President Trump said the meeting could last 3 or more hours.